And episode 13 of the Above Average Joe's podcast. I'm Kyle.
Heath.
And back in the control room is Matt, as always, making everything look good and us sound awesome.
Yo, yo, yo.
And I'm just back from a quick little trip to Vegas, so we'll see how this all goes.
Talked to Gruden and Mayock.
Well, you know, they brought me in as an advisor.
Did they?
Yeah. Well,
What'd you advise them on? Defense, offense, special teams?
Not to sign more guys like Antonio Brown.
How to hide the money you're spending on hookers to send to the hotel?
How to hide the hookers.
Of the opposition team?
Something like that.
Anything.
So what do we got on today's podcast, Heath?
We're going to touch some NHL. There were 3 5-point games in a week. When was the last time that happened?
It's probably been a while, the 80s maybe?
What was the... Yeah, exactly. And the NHL Coaches Association announces a women's coaching program. I got a couple thoughts on that. Good, bad, and otherwise. So that's the NHL.
And then we're going to talk a little CFL, talk about the new TV deal with TSN, and as always, we'll throw in a little bit of XFL.
Like sprinkles on your cupcake, hey?
Yeah.
Just that little extra. Nice. And then we're going to jump to the NFL. The combine's over, but we kind of hashed that out a little bit last week, and kind of want to talk a little bit more of the next step, which is free agency, which opens on the 18th of March. And some QB contracts and values and who we kind of think is worth the bucks or
And
worth
who's
the
not
bucks
worth
they're
the bucks.
being offered, all that kind of jazz. So, yeah.
If you play for the Bucks.
Or if you should play for the Bucks. Yeah. Anyway, so some NHL stuff.
Hey, Jill's back with us.
Yo,
Awesome.
Jill.
We'll have to think of a question to
Skill
stump her on
testing
again.
question. Okay. Anyway, there were 2 5-point games happened in the same game. Draisaitl and McDavid, they beat up on the Predators in an 8-3 win here in the last week. And Zibanejad had 5 goals against Washington in a 6-5 victory, including the overtime winner. How dominant are Draisaitl and McDavid now that they're on separate lines? Obviously, it's worked. Right? They had some bumps there for a while. They were pretty major minus players. But when you can get 2 5-point nights out of anybody on your team, it's probably a good night. Or are the Predators that bad?
I think probably
More of column A or
I think
B?
they're that
They're
good.
that
Man.
good?
I think they're that good.
Well, if I was the rest of the Western Conference and I saw something like that, because the Predators have a pretty top-notch goalie. They have a pretty good defensive club. Their defense core is pretty solid. If I saw something like that, I'd be a little worried. I don't think I'd want to play the Oilers.
They've seemed to
When you're hot, you're hot.
They've seemed to have picked it up at the right time.
But as impressive as that was, Zibanejad of the Rangers potting 5 goals against the Capitals. That was impressive. Did you see his overtime winner? It was a pretty nice goal, pretty nice feed.
Yeah, nice.
And my question is, and we can maybe pose this to anyone else that's out there, but how bad are the Capitals falling apart? They're a pretty darn good team, and they were doing really well at the first half of the season, but they're 4-4-2 in their last 10, which doesn't sound horrible, but it doesn't sound like a playoff contender. It barely sounds like a playoff team.
Who have they?
They're still in first in their division.
Who are the 4 wins against?
But and that's maybe part of it too. My Flyers, Scotty owes me lunch. My Flyers beat them up and down and up again. Anyway, but a 4-4-2 team is not all that impressive. And they're getting older. They've got a lot invested in that older group on their team. At a certain point, the wheels start to fall off. So if a whole team ages not so gracefully and all at the same time, is it worrisome, right? So I'm keeping an eyeball on them. I know that, like I said, they're still in first, but the Flyers have now tied them points-wise.
Where's that homer horn?
Where's the homer horn? Yeah, well, I'm not a Caps guy.
It's actually
but
kind of
it's the
it's
Flyers,
lost
man.
now with all these
And the
new
pink-
sounds you guys
and
have.
the-
Oh, right.
Yeah.
And the Penguins are
We're making
still
you work
the
for it
Penguins.
tonight, Maddie.
So lots there to consider. So I think the Caps will make it in, but I don't think they're going to make it too far unless they get their act together. The beauty of a veteran team is they know how to do it, so
That's
they can
right.
get it together. So anyway, but Zibanejad with the 5 goals was wicked impressive. And him and Panarin are actually, like everyone was saying, oh, the Rangers are kind of sellers at the deadline, everything else. They've got some very good hockey players there still. Like
Certainly do.
they can get a couple guys up in the system in the next couple years, maybe sign a couple guys because the Rangers, love to spend money.
It's New York.
They may just rebound pretty good next year, as much as I don't want to see it as a Flyer fan. But yeah, makes for an interesting division. We can maybe digest that division and how competitive it is next time Mr. Sauer's on.
Yeah, we have to get him back on.
Yeah, well,
We're due for some technical difficulties,
oh
so it's,
yeah, there
so
you
we
go.
might as well have a guest.
There you go. Anyway,
Hey, just before we move along
sure.
here, Heath, could you just please say Flyers for me for a moment?
Flyers. They're the hottest team in the NHL right now. If I'm gonna-
that's the
if-
closest thing I can find for the Homer Horn right now.
If I'm getting Homer horned, I have to go full scale right into it.
Oh,
So the
there it
hottest
is.
team in the NHL. There you
Ah, that's the one I was looking
Yeah.
for.
go. You doubled up like you had to with those dates from JD's on those Friday nights back in the day. Oh yeah.
JD's, that's
Yeah.
going back.
Just dirties, buddy. They are the hottest. They are the hottest team in the league, though. So as much as you think I'm being
I
a
know
homer,
you keep telling us. We'll never forget.
they're going from pretender to contender. Underestimate them. Go ahead.
I
do it.
can't believe where the Oilers are sitting. That's kind of still surprising.
Feel like we're in a port. Anyway,
The Port of Regina.
we'll move on. We'll go to the little bit of Johnny Boychuk. He took a skate in the face. You see
Oh.
that? That was gross. And it was very worrisome, like the way he skated off. My brother, I don't know if you knew this, but my brother actually took a skate in the neck. It was only a
Jeez.
couple of layers from his jugular rupturing. Yeah.
And that would have been in the era when they had to wear neck guards, correct?
Yeah, he was wearing a neck guard.
Kind of getting the feeling your brothers shouldn't leave the house.
Nah. They're good. They're fine.
Okay.
They're fine. But yeah, he took a bunch of stitches that time too. But the spookier part is we took him to the hospital in the next town over. No ambulance. Drove him in the back of the old Oldsmobile.
Just threw a couple bales in the back of the half
And he was holding
threw
it
him in
together,
there.
paper towels. It was pretty gross, all running down, everything. Anyway, got to the hospital, the next town over. Phoned ahead to say we're coming because it's like late at night. It's a one doctor type hospital, right? The guy lives on the same block as the hospital. They waited for him to show up. Took him an hour. You could damn near throw a baseball through his front door from the front of the hospital.
Wow.
Yeah. So there's your dad sitting there going, where is this son of a bitch? My kid could like rupture his jugular at any moment, possibly bleed out and die. What the hell's he doing? I just drove from 15 miles over and got here.
Maybe him and the wife were having a romantic evening. He had to finish up on.
But here's the next dilemma. What do you do when he does show up? You're pissed off.
Yeah.
So do you want to whack him
And then your
one?
blood starts boiling.
But you can't punch him in the head even though he's being a moron.
No.
Right? Because you need
Because
your kid
otherwise you're
stitched
doing
up.
the stitches.
Yeah. Do you know how to self-stitch? Because as soon as you're done with that guy, warm-up's over. It's
Warm up.
on.
Giver.
But yeah. Anyway, yeah, my brother just,
Crazy.
yeah, crazy. But Johnny took a lot more. 90 stitches. It was his eyelid. But 90 stitches?
It's a lot of stitches.
Holy crap. How deep was it? And it didn't seemingly look like it was very long. He was kind of covering it all with one
Right.
hand. So, holy
But they
crap.
also said they were small stitches, right? And like when I got my face split open by a guitar, I got 12 between my nose and my lip, but 4 were inside the cut, and then another 8 between like here and here, and they were really small and close together, right? So
Yeah, maybe
was
you
layered.
several
can fit a lot
layers.
of stitches in a small section.
It was layered like a wedding cake or
Something like that.
something like that. Okay. Well,
Like shark's teeth.
90 stitches is a whole lot of
That's
stitches.
a whole shitload of
Do
stitches.
you need a doctor or a seamstress? That's insane. That's an insane amount.
Just go to
Hopefully
stitch
he's-
it at the mall?
Hopefully he's okay in the end, but Now, of course, because something major happened, the league it was in meetings, and they're talking about skate cuts being a lot more frequent and potentially making wrist guards a mandatory equipment. Because
Wrist guards?
well, wrists have actually been cut by skates.
So after a
this
guy
year-
gets his face cut,
Well, it's
That-
the frequency of guys being cut by skates, I think, is what spurned it. And that 90 stitches being fairly significant. But there's about three guys this year that have gotten their wrists cut from a skate kicking up.
well, you know what that tells me is they need to go
Guys
back
fall
to
down
fucking
too easy?
normal fucking hockey gloves.
Well, and
They've changed how they make hockey
Yeah, they're
gloves these
shorter.
days, and they have shorter fucking guards
well,
on.
and
Thanks,
me,
Mario.
me
Lemieux.
personally, as soon as
Absolutely.
yeah, lots of gloves don't even. You remember how gloves used to have laces, right?
Yeah.
Oh
You
yeah.
tighten 'em?
Yeah.
They
used
don't
to
even
leave
make
'em
them with
hanging.
laces. There's no laces. It's just
Yeah,
a cuff.
when they used to go about that
Right,
far.
and in here you've got the elastic sort of area so you can bend and articulate, so I mean, I know a number of guys. I've got big hands. I wear a bigger size glove. They'll wear a glove size maybe 2 down just for that range of motion, that flexibility. So if you make them wear wrist guards, I don't know, are they just going to wear even smaller gloves?
Yeah, I
Well,
don't know.
they'll
Or are they
always
gonna-
find a way to
Right, but it's sorta
to
like
make it the absolute bare minimum, right? Like,
Right. And you ever see those guys when they get in scraps where they just suddenly just shake their body like a horse or a dog getting the water off his back, and it's like, holy shit, all of his upper gear came off. Like elbow pads just fly out they don't tighten anything. Some guys
they have
on
everything ready
purpose.
to
I hate
easy rip
tight
off.
elbow pads. So lots of times in a game I'm pushing mine up. I'm not going to put tight wrist guards on or tight gloves. I don't like anything tight in a hockey game. You were thinking it. I said it. I know how this works. So I don't know. They can make them mandatory, but is it really going to do what it needs to do? Is it going to be like a neck guard where if it's not perfectly placed
What
when
if we
the
make
skate
skates
comes?
less sharp?
Why don't we just wear rollerblades? I mean, shit. Why not?
Well, it sounds like from Jill you get free haircuts sometimes if
Oh.
the skates are so sharp.
Free haircut.
She said she watched a girl lose her ponytail on the ice.
Holy cow.
Yikes.
Did she get stepped on? Or was it like
Or
Pure-
like kung fu through
purely
the air.
accidental or more accidentally on purpose? That
don't
would be
know.
spooky.
Was it a ringette game? I hear those get pretty intense.
Oh, man.
There's a lot of Donnybrook's.
I'd tape a thumbtack to the bottom of my stick. Couple jabs. Always look for me to find a way to be dirty. Anyway, my point is should the NHL get involved in making equipment mandatory, or is it just something that they have to understand the risks with
Well,
wearing equipment a certain way?
little from column A, little from column B.
Right,
Like,
like-
use that attitude, they wouldn't be wearing helmets, right? But
Well, eventually they
I
may.
don't see them forcing people to wear neck guards.
Right. What next? You're going to tell me I have to wear... I don't wear shoulder pads.
Well, not everybody's built like you though.
But even when I played like senior hockey, I wore just flimsy little shoulder pads. I didn't wear... I used to wear really big, heavy-duty ones in bantam midget hockey. I got rid of them. Range of motion. All you need is a cup here and enough that it doesn't break anything here.
At the end of my career when I was playing rec hockey, so many of the old guys never wore shoulder pads.
Yeah, I don't wear shoulder pads. I haven't worn shoulder pads forever. And the ones I have, I should bring them on here. You'd laugh. It's like, that's like,
They're probably the same ones I played
Yeah.
Adam hockey with.
probably. Actually, I had the same ones from when I got them in Atom hockey, and I never did turf them, other than wearing the bigger ones for a couple of years of bantam and midget, where I really did like to run into things. Yeah, that was my negotiating tactic. Run it over. Anyway,
doesn't seem like your
I
style.
don't
You
think
like
it's something
to,
the NHL should really maybe get involved in. I really don't like it. To me, it's sort of like government being too involved in your life. Less, maybe more. And if they know the risks, they know the risks, right?
Well,
Maybe when it comes to head trauma because of the court cases and stuff that they're going with, in terms of, coming back at them for past damages. Okay, helmets, certain things you can maybe say, yeah, you should have a legit helmet. Can't wear the old Jofa.
Those were awesome, though.
They
I
are
wanted
awesome.
one.
I'd really like one, by the way. If anybody out there has an old Jofa, I will pay you cash money.
Yeah.
Cash money.
At Heath Degelman.
Yep.
Just give him a shout.
It'll happen for real.
He wants to be Yuri Curry in the worst way.
Yep.
He wants to be Finnish.
I'm all Finnish, baby. That's what she says. I just don't like the idea of them being too involved. It's a personal choice as far as I'm concerned. I'm sure at some point, if they get a couple of more of these things, they're going to make them mandatory. Have you ever seen a guy on the ice wearing wrist guards?
No.
Yeah, because
They'd be made fun of, probably.
they don't really work.
This is hockey. It's a
They-
man's sport.
Well, they don't really work. It's like neck guards. My brother had a neck guard on, still got cut, still damn near died. Right? Like, it
To me, the
doesn't
neck
protect
guard
you
was
from...
if I got a puck in the throat, it wouldn't.
Right, but you
hurt
know how it
quite
is.
as bad.
They're only 4 inches wide. They sit
Yeah.
here. Well, how much neck do you got sticking out of it still? Like, yeah.
Well, yeah, for a blade, it's just.
So I hope they don't actually make them wear wrist guards. If guys do, they do. If they don't, they don't.
Yeah,
They
I
just
don't
gotta
think,
know the
I don't-
risks.
I don't
The-
think a wrist guard should be mandatory.
Well, the Marlies in Toronto
Yeah,
are
well,
going to make them mandatory
That's
next
what I
year.
heard.
But you've seen their main club, right?
Yeah.
Well,
the
they're
Marlies.
soft. They cut easy. Do you want to talk salary cap?
Sure.
Okay. Well, the salary cap is going up in the NHL. And it's projected to go up to 84 or as high as 88 next year, which is a range of 2.5 to 6.7 million. The NHLPA has been talking of a multi-year salary cap number. The PA has. I would think that's a good idea, and I'm not too sure why they haven't done this yet. Why is it we only find out what the cap is just before the year?
Yeah,
right?
that's
Like they're
weird.
setting it now, and you're going to be in free agency within 3 months.
I assume the teams know, though, right?
Well, you have a long-term TV contract. There's a sharing model involved, right? Why couldn't you set a 1, 3, 5 year type plan together? So at least the GMs know, geez, I'm getting 4 more or 6 more or 2 more million next year. It affects how you negotiate
So you're
contracts.
saying the GMs don't know
They-
prior to the start of the new year what
they
the
do,
salary
but
cap's
it's
gonna
just
be?
before the start of
Right.
the new year. So you're supposed to sign a 6-year deal or an 8-year deal with some of these
Not
guys.
knowing what the
But I
Well-
don't really. I'm just expecting in 3 years it'll go up. But
So
how
the
much?
logic of that tells me don't sign people to these ridiculous long-term deals.
but that's the
it's
thing,
just-
it's-
well, unless you're projecting what you think.
But it's competitive, right?
It's
Like
gonna
if
be,
you don't
right?
give them a 7-year deal, somebody
else
will. So why can't they have more known parts of their salary structure cap related, right? So you
for
know
sure.
how it
Yeah.
fits together,
Yeah.
right? Because, well, just to speak of the Leafs again, they got 4 guys over 10 million. Well, if the cap goes up 6.7 next year and the next year
They
and
can
the
give
next
them
year,
each a million more.
well, in 4 years, they're not that expensive anymore.
True.
But if it only goes up 2.5, they're going to remain on the expensive side. So it affects your team building long term. And with teams like the Senators right now, or New Jersey or Detroit, they're at the bottom. How do you really rebuild when you're not too sure where to put the bucks because you're not sure how much bucks you got, right? They're tanking. Not in the true sense of the word, but they're in a full-on rebuild.
Yeah.
I'd like to know how much a guy's worth because as soon as I got to sign him, it's going to be long-term. It's part of my plan for a rebuild is long-term guys, young, long-term guys.
It should be. Should be
But-
your plan.
But there's too much unknown if
Yeah.
I'm not working 3 or 5 years in advance with some sort of known
Yeah, some sort of scale
range
of,
even.
of what it's going to be, right?
So
That's a pretty big. Well, it's
I can't figure out why they haven't come up with this a little sooner or pushed for it sooner. It could be a range. I'm sure it would have to be a range because there's not everything isn't known as to what the sharing model has in terms of cash, income, how to truly split it. But you should have a pretty good idea. So working within that range as a GM would be a good thing. Everybody has a capologist in their office. So what's this guy to do? 1-year plan. When you're signing 6 and 8 year deals for 10+ million a year.
No, I would assume you're basing your projections on expected growth, right?
But what's the expected growth?
Well, that's always a guess, right?
Right.
But I mean, that's
Like,
that's
I'm
what
just
that-
saying with
But I
the-
mean, that's the same thing that any, like a capologist would be like an actuary, right?
Well, just looking at the range though, $2.5 million over 4 years gives you how many dollars? 10 million more to the cap. Same 4 years at $6.5 million, right? 26 million bucks. That's a big difference on what I've got to spend on players. And I'm going to have guys on 6 or 8 year deals. They're going to be right in the middle of the deal. That's going to impact their value. And it's really going to impact my team building when these guys hit their peak, which is kind of the idea. Mid-contract, they hit their peak and we're legit contenders for an extended window. You can't build a contender on food stamps, right?
Right.
I want to know. So maybe there's some work that can be done, but good on the PA for maybe for identifying that and maybe having a multi-year salary cap number. It would provide, I think, stability. So anyway, enough about money. It's made to be spent.
Money.
You want to talk about let's talk the
Easy money.
yeah.
Yeah.
NHL Coaches Association announced Sunday that they're launching this new initiative, and it's focused on development of female hockey coaches. Super awesome thing, right? Good on the Coaches Association. The new initiative is going to support development of female hockey coaches at all levels of hockey, right? So to me, that implies NHL down or grassroots all the way up.
Right.
Skill development, leadership strategies, tactics, networking, career advancement opportunities, how to pursue them, how to prepare for them, all that kind of stuff. Super good for the sport on the female side, right? So the NHL Coaches Association is the one that's doing this, and they're doing it for 1 year. It's 1 year. 2020, 2021 season, it comes to an end. It's
Boy,
just
that's
1
a
year.
substantial commitment, eh?
Oh, yeah. Way to stick it all the way out. You barely got it outside the zipper, fellas.
Wow.
It's still a good program, okay? And it's meant to encourage advancement, in terms of the equity, in a way to produce long-term dividends. And this is where I have the beef. This is where I have the problem. Brace for impact.
I'm ready. Tell us.
My issue is, if you are trying to do a long-term dividend, you need to invest long-term.
It usually works that way, yeah.
This is ridiculous. This is absolutely ridiculous. So now the Coaches Association is the one leading the charge on female hockey. They can't commit as much as they probably should, or probably even want to some degree. And now, even if they did commit, say it was a 10-year program, right? They commit for 10 years. Where did these now trained female coaches go?
Right.
You're super high level. You're super trained up. Where did they go? There's a lot of places for them to go in the grassroots. Female hockey's growing. It's doing better. But you've got an NHL Coaches Association that's training women for the highest levels, NHL included,
Yeah.
AHL included.
And what you're saying is
WHL
they're not
coach in
going to
those
get
levels.
those jobs?
So they have to go to what?
Women can coach
The St.
football.
Louis Blues and be on their coaching staff. Maybe eventually one will
basketball.
become a head coach of an NHL team.
Right.
Where the hell's the NHL in terms of getting a female game together?
You mean as far as like
Why can
supporting
they
the
commit to
women's
the
league?
You mean,
coaching
yeah,
side,
I think-
but they can't commit to actually building and developing a league for all these high-level
sure, yeah.
players to be in?
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. That's
The best- and
it's
to me-
brutal that they let that league fold.
Well, or that they're not getting it together, and that's where the NHL All-Star Game. We touched on it at the time the All-Star Game was going on. They're just it's all just flapping their gums. well, we're not sure. Da, da, da. And having experienced this with lacrosse and getting the female game going, or helping with getting the female game going, you go into board meetings and there's all these old crotchety sons of bitches who will give you every lame line as to why they can't. And it's just a line. You're being fed a line.
Absolutely.
They need to put the players on the ice. That's where it starts. The grassroots is going to get better. There's a trickle down effect, right?
Mm-hmm.
So get them a legit pro game. Start there. NHL commits. The Coaches Association can back that up. And the best way for these coaches to really gain experience or gain, skills is experience.
Right.
So yeah, maybe there'll be some rough points at the beginning, but we've seen 7 head coaches fired in the NHL this year. All coaches have a rough point. All coaches are hired to be fired.
That is the truth.
So where's the commitment from the NHL to getting a game together for these ladies who take this program, even for 1 year, to end up going? It seems a little bit like they want to develop female coaches. They want a few equity candidates on an NHL staff, and that's as far as they'll go. That's just me.
Certainly seems that way.
They only want female coaches if they're good to benefit the NHL, not a women's game.
Well, NFL kind of feels a little bit like that too.
Well, at a certain point, they've got to commit to actually having these female players, having a pro league to be in, getting it started.
Once again, why the NBA has it going on and some of these other leagues are falling behind.
Miles ahead.
Well, that's my beef with the whole thing. A 1 year commitment is not a commitment. That's a trial.
You are church,
That's a
brother.
trial.
Oh, yeah, preach.
You put one toe in the water. You need to start getting in the water, really swimming. And it starts with getting a league together for these females who are high-level players. And we've all watched the Olympics with female hockey. I can remember watching it when I was, in my late teens and early 20s. And to now, today, it was good back then. It's really good. There are some really good players who can do some phenomenal stuff. You saw it at the NHL All-Star game 2 years ago. Fastest skater. Some of those girls can really play hockey. Give them a damn place to... And it's not just about making a buck. Give them a place to go and play and make a career out of it, because until the time they're 20 years old or 21 and they leave college or wherever they end up playing, they've committed as much time to their craft as a lot of guys.
Right. Why does
sometimes more even? So why are they committing that amount of time to developing and becoming that level of player when there's relatively no place to go after that? Give them a place to go.
Absolutely.
It's the right thing to
do. And the NHL should be
they should
financing it.
They should be at the forefront.
Absolutely.
Even if they don't finance it, they should be able to take their leverage with networks and use it to leverage a contract for that.
At the minimum.
So to me, and they talk about the new the Vegas franchise, and the fees that these owners pay to have a team in the league. All you need is a guy who's well financed and willing to do it, and signs the contract to say, I'm going to do it for a number of years. Why do you have to get a franchise fee out of them? Just be happy somebody's running it. That's how you get it started. Give away a franchise. Make it $250,000 to get a franchise. Whatever. Make it cheap enough that guys will stick their neck out and do it. So
Jill says there's already functioning women's sports. Still can't get any headway on training. She had to pay for all of her training.
Yeah, well, depending, I've paid for some training myself as a guy, but it should be readily available and usually free to whoever wants to take it, to benefit the association you're working for.
Right, but if you're trying to grow something, sometimes you have to take
a little more
loss, right?
Yeah,
and pay for it to be done.
Oh,
right.
Sure. Development
in growing it,
and there
right?
are coaches who take a loss because they will pay for stuff themselves.
But I mean, as talking about, the NHL should be doing a hell of a lot more than this. to jumpstart this, right?
Right.
It feels like it's
nothing is going to
be
be 100% for sure or perfectly safe. It's still a business venture on a certain level too, and there's a certain amount of risk when it's a business venture. My point, though, being is as much as it's a business venture, they can't look at it only and strictly from a money perspective, right? And that's what it seems to be the hang up. That's why there's this 1-year commitment here. That's why you get the lip service at the All-Star game from Gary Bettman. And I mean, to me, it's just, it sounds good on paper. That's it. Commit.
Gary Bettman is just a mouthpiece.
Well,
He's a weasel.
He's a fuck.
moving on.
Do we got one more thing here with
Yes, we do.
In hockey.
in hockey?
So speaking of, well, maybe not the female game, but there's a few guys maybe.
Speaking of
Maybe just a league or two lower than the big show.
Yeah, there is
Iron League.
The Iron League, the Federal League. Scouts with contracts in their pockets.
and we were talking about this earlier, and
I can't wait to start fucking hammering people.
Yeah, buddy.
like
Sing
you
it,
said,
Bubbles.
there's nothing new about fights in the Federal League, but how often does a coach kind of start the whole thing going?
So
Yeah,
do you
that's
want to have a
true.
look at this?
Let's
take a
let's
peek.
let's show the folks what we're talking about. Here's some video from the Federal League of little Donnybrook.
First after their ejections. Bouchard's going to bark, and Nitch is too. Bouchard's going to throw his jacket off, and so is Andre Nitch.
Yikes.
Now they've got a crowd of about 5 players from either team that have to stand in between them here. But Nick Wright's going to drop the gloves, and he's going to try to fight with Andre Nitch. Nitch will walk off. Wright's going to come around and say some more. Oh, I have never seen this in all my years of covering hockey. Now Wright's going to go at Mike Baker. We've got a brawl right at the Columbus bench. He's pulled Baker into the bench, and he's giving it to him. Nitch is getting into it. And now we've got a goalie fight. Karpinski has Osaka. Fade out of the box. It's a melee. Everybody from the bench to the ice has a dance partner, Graham and Holt's on top of Graham. Chase Follis and Joe Cangelosi in a bear hug. Bouchard's going to make his way off to the ice as Holt and Graham exchange punches at the red line.
Look at that. Look at that.
Andre Nitch has completely thrown his dress shirt off in the process.
Holy cow, he's peeling.
I gotta look at another angle from
Did anybody
that same
get-
site. That it was the player who actually ripped his shirt right off his person. It was
That looks like Saudi Raymore back in the day.
or Kelvington Wynyard,
There you go. Good old-fashioned Donnybrook.
Priestville, Sturgis.
Yeah. Honestly, when I was a kid growing up, senior games that was it.
Oh, yeah,
I wanted to
that-
play for the senior team. We lived an hour at least from an SJHL or even a WHL team. Going to the senior game was the thing.
Certainly was.
I wanted to don the colors.
I saw some things that look similar to that. I still have not seen a coach.
That is a new one. And they were tarps off boys. Hey,
Oh,
they
man.
peeled everything. They were going for it.
That
I can't
announcer did a
figure
really
out
good job of-
why, as a coach, though, you think you're in a better situation on the ice with your dress shoes than you would be off the ice. Wouldn't you just jump on the well, he jumped on the bench eventually. He got shit pumped.
Yeah.
Unreal.
Good times. Good times.
Good old Federal League. Well, anyway, in that game, just a little side note to that one. It was the Carolina Thunderbirds and the Columbus River Dragons. Actually, somewhat intimidating names, actually, a little bit.
The River Dragons.
Yeah. It's not like the Care Bears or something, or the Flames. Something not intimidating. Whoa. Carolina.
Is that for yourself?
I guess.
Only a Flamer would do that. Carolina won 9-3. So I
in
think
fights to,
I think when the game gets out of hand, that's when things get out of hand.
Always.
That's my
Always.
thought.
Always.
There were
You're not going to see something like that in a fucking 2-1 battle, right?
if we can't beat
Certainly
them on
aren't.
the scoreboard, we're going to beat them in the trenches, right?
You have to. Oh,
So
crap.
that being said, there were 11 fighting majors, 2 match penalties, 3 game misconducts, 4 penalties, misconduct penalties for guys leaving the box during an altercation, okay, and 1 call for a third man in, which was the goalie, Karpinski. I grew up near some Karpinskis, actually. Good folks.
Did any of those referees have a green armband?
Yeah. Shouldn't yell at them. If you have a
Because-
green armband, would you not have to break up
Those
fights?
referees, did you notice the referees wanted no part of any of that?
No, let them fight it out.
They're not getting paid enough.
Wow.
Well, what are you supposed? You're
I'm gonna
kind of
stick my nose
outnumbered,
in and
right?
get it
At that
broke
point.
off.
Isn't the whole point, though, is you're supposed
It's
to kind of
really
get
easy
things
to-
under control before it gets to that
Yeah, but
point?
when one guy's laying
Well,
there,
generally, yeah, you're supposed to manage it.
if one guy's laying there crying, it's easy to take care of the other guy.
You need to get that coach off the ice.
Maybe his players maybe should have been like, coach,
Yeah.
not today.
Maybe lay off the roids a little bit.
Yeah,
this
we know what
week.
bar they go to. Let's go there, right? There was 173 penalty minutes in the game, which I've actually seen over 270 in some games.
That was just you.
No, not just me. Not just me. I actually took over 50 in a game one time.
Holy shite.
Well, the rules are different. You didn't get kicked out for every little stupid thing back then. I got a 10-minute misconduct and a 2-minute unsportsmanlike all in the same play. As I left the penalty box, a guy fell and his stick was on the ice. So as I skated back to my bench, I kicked his stick across the ice. I got 10 more minutes. I didn't even make it all the way
Right
back
there.
to the bench, and the refs were
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
"You're
Yeah,
going back."
There you go, buddy.
Yeah,
Yeah,
'Cause
absolutely. I
you
get
can't.
that. Yeah.
You can't kick a guy's stick all the way across the ice.
You absolutely cannot.
It was a good kick, though. Didn't get much hang time. I'm no John Ryan. 125, though, were at the end of the game alone.
So it was a pretty clean game up until that point.
Yeah, not too bad. Not too bad. 50 PIMs, not too bad. For the Federal League,
That's pretty
you
good.
play most of 3 periods and you get 50 PIMs. Probably not bad. Anyway,
It's an average night.
those coaches, man, that was crazy. Tarps off, boys! Love it.
Great stuff.
Let's move into some CFL now.
Woohoo! It's almost time.
Yeah, a little bit more controlled aggression. The Riders actually signed 2 DBs.
Right on.
They're
I like-
rebuilding that secondary, or not rebuilding, I
Uh,
guess. They're bringing in
We need some
backups
depth.
and,
We need
and
some
depth and guys who could maybe even play later in the year or take over longer term. Zach Sanchez being one of them.
He sounds like a good pickup, I think.
Yeah, well, the last name's Sanchez. You just hope he doesn't butt fumble anything.
Is he
But
Canadian?
He's a DB, so probably shouldn't happen.
He's not Canadian.
No,
is
he's
he?
not Canadian. He's a former Carolina Panther corner, drafted in the 5th round for them in 2016. So kid can probably play a little ball. They also signed Tevin Mitchell, who was a Ticat last year. He only played in 2 games. He's 27. Former 6th round pick by the Washington Redskins in 2015. So
So
a
he
couple
may
guys
be a
with
good
some-
player that Washington just didn't know what to do with.
Fair enough.
It's all fake news. It's phony stuff. It didn't happen.
Thanks, Maddie. That was right out of left field. Loved it.
Oh, awesome.
Former 6th round pick, though. So all things said and done, though, both these guys have a little bit of resume in pro football. They should be able to maybe come in, be pros,
Yeah.
and maybe get into the running for some snaps and playing time. So I really liked it. I liked that
Sometimes
they've
some
got
real good stuff comes out of the 6th round.
Yeah. Well,
Like Tom Brady.
Oh, I was more thinking Antonio
Did you-
Brown, right?
yeah, the
He's the
best 6th
best.
rounder
The
ever.
best.
Oh my God. Speaking of playing without a helmet, maybe a couple
See,
of
that's why they have to mandate some of those things. It's for your own protection.
Okay, fair enough. I'll give you that one. I lost my train of thought.
Jovan.
Javon Johnson, another DB, retired, signed a 1-year deal in Winnipeg. He retired a Bomber. He was a most outstanding player, defensive player in the league in 2011, and he played 12 years. So
He was solid.
he was a very good player. Yeah, I liked him.
Yep.
He had that little bit of a DB swagger, which you need to play. All the best to him.
Yep. Enjoy retirement.
Yeah.
Yes, I want to talk about this. The new TV deal.
We'll talk about it. Go ahead. I'll just drink.
So, the CFL signed a new TV deal with TSN for 6 years for what I think is a measly $4 million more per year added to their already existing deal.
Mm-hmm.
Seems like an interesting time that you're wanting to grow the league and the CFL 2.0, and you sign a rights deal to one company for a long-term deal for not
Right.
much more money.
So, and this is where maybe the CFL needs to learn something from the NFL. Okay? I know they're not as big, but the deal didn't run out with Bell until 2021.
Right. It had another year.
So they had another year, and you don't want to have that unrest as that year starts,
True.
but you've got a year to work on it. Okay? So why can't they? And I watch Rush games on Twitter. They were streaming them on there, right? You can watch some pro sports on some different platforms. There really isn't any plan, it seems like, for how Bell is going to deal with the digital side of the game.
The TSN app.
TSN app. TSN, if you're
That's
listening,
how they want you to
I
watch.
watch TSN damn near every night, but your app is subpar.
Yes, and I hate
Agreed.
the changes to it. It sucks.
It's subpar. Whoever
Sucks.
does the one for the score, hire that guy. He knows what he's doing. It's a lot easier. You need a better interface. Anyway, not talking apps. Okay, we're not going to put our nerd hats on today. That's what I do
unless
for a
that's
living.
what you want
Squirrel!
us to talk about.
Squirrel! Yeah. The thing is as much as you want to shop your services as a free agent, as a player, why are you not shopping the services of your league to other media companies? Shaw maybe wants to get in, right? You've got Bell, right? What's wrong with maybe some other people being involved here and a little competition?
Exactly.
TSN does a good job.
CBC could come back into the fold. We could get the
They have no
Waldinator
money.
back involved.
They have no money.
No, not CBC.
Hey?
We
They have
don't
no
want to
money.
Wouldn't you
listen
love to see Chris
to-
Walby again?
Is
Chris-
he still alive?
Go
No,
to-
seriously, I'm
check,
not
check
sure.
Buffet Palace. He's there.
I'm
I'm
not
sure.
sure.
No, I don't want CBC. Are you trying to trigger me?
I think he did.
CBC shouldn't
They've got
even
extra
exist.
money. Actually, I was going to say, where do they get the money? That's right. They got a bunch of money.
Yeah.
Did
yeah.
somebody just give
my
them some money?
goddamn money?
Well, there. So
Yeah.
why don't
Yeah,
they
I
show our league?
I could tell by the way you react to the word Trudeau
It's not
that you were
Trudeau.
going to react in a similar way to the word CBC.
Yes, but it's true though.
It's Trudeau. No, the bulge in my pants is actually one of the anchors putting his hand in my pocket, grabbing my wallet. It shouldn't be taxpayer funded. And if that's how they're going to try to get competition, is have Bell go up against a taxpayer funded entity, that's not really a good competition to get into. That's a little ridiculous. But if you want to grow the game, you can't go to CBC because they're already just Canadian content. You need to grow this on the global scale, like
Right.
you were saying.
Yes.
So maybe you need to go and get a ESPN 14 or whoever the hell in the States.
Well, it's on ESPN
Somebody.
Plus right now, which is only an online platform. So I'm
Right.
assuming that's going to stay the same, I would think.
Fair enough, but why can they not put just one game a week on TV?
Why aren't
Right?
they talking to an NBC?
Well, they do Friday night football. The NFL could do a Thursday, like a CBS could do a Thursday night game. There could be a CFL Friday night game. The odd time they do Saturday games, some Sunday games like usual, Monday. You'd get a little more football on there, and football does well. It does well for their ratings.
Certainly does.
And I hate to tell you, we got a way more entertaining product in the XFL.
Oh, God. Seems like a good segue.
So it would be a pretty good way to get some fans. I just think they should have shopped it around. I'm not saying TSN's a bad
Oh,
job.
no, for sure.
But shop it around. Is TSN and that's the thing. Do you truly know TSN's paying you what you're worth? You don't know until you
Well,
go to the
it
market.
almost feels like a good buddy deal.
We're not here to rub backs. We're here to make money. Sorry,
I agree.
competition.
Well, yeah, in a world where Rogers is going to pay $10 billion or whatever the hell it was, it was Rogers, right, for the hockey rights. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah, now they're
It was
firing everybody because they're not making enough money for the
well,
deal
sure.
that they signed.
But I
But
mean,
even
that
the-
was a.
So that's not a good thing either.
But I mean, we're talking about people making grand gestures, right?
Well, part of it is,
And it's not really a grand gesture when it's, like you said, your buddy, right?
and I think maybe where Rogers fell short was their digital content. They were a little premature in that.
Well, they hired
It wasn't very good.
the
in
wrong people to start off with. I think really hurt.
Yeah, well, that can happen, but not the CBC, Maddie. Jesus, wrong. Anyway, XFL.
XFL.
So, do you want to talk scores first, or do you want to talk about my little?
Let's
kinda-
talk. Let's talk. Just run through the scores and
'Kay,
any
well-
things you thought were worth
Houston.
talking about, because I've
Tuning
watched
out.
a little bit. Like
Yeah.
I said, I was in Vegas and it was on this every screen when you're walking through, but I've kind of lost interest.
Yeah,
Yeah, they've lost me.
Yeah, I've kinda lost
part-time
interest.
fans. For
Well,
the love of
honestly, I had a
football,
hard
boys.
time finding the game the other day, and I was like, "You got to be kidding me! Like, you're trying to sell this bloody thing to me, and then
Isn't
you
it
make
on
it hard to
TSN?
get to." It
Wow.
was not the one that I was looking for. There was nothing on TSN.
Fair
as far
enough.
as
Well,
football
maybe they
goes.
need a digital media package as part of their TV contract.
Maybe they just need to get it on fucking TV, because who the hell wants to go to the internet to watch TV?
Well,
Grandpa,
Grandpa.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Get off my lawn.
what the fuck is the internet?
Yeah. Fuck is that? Houston beat Seattle 32-23. And if you are going to watch a game, watch Houston. PJ Walker is the MVP as far as I'm concerned. And the
They're
interesting
5-0,
part,
right?
yeah, they're undefeated. If anybody in that league gets an NFL shot, it should be that guy. I think he could go in and be somebody's number 2. He is a pretty darn good quarterback. He's doing all the right things. So
So you heard it here third. PJ Walker, quarterback, Houston. Heath says check him
He's
out.
the man.
NFL shot. He should get one. But yeah, he's throwing for darn near 300. He's pretty efficient. They're winning games. They score points. What more do you want, right?
Darn near 300 in a game. Hold me back.
Yeah.
I'm excited.
Um,
How many interceptions and fumbles in that game? Wasn't there like 3 fumbles for touchdowns in like a minute in one of these games?
oh yeah, well, I'm not saying every game is perfect, but you've seen the Cincinnati Bengals play
Only when they're playing the Packers.
the New York Jets.
No.
And
Why would I watch the Bengals and
but
Jets
even on
game?
highlights, right?
No, I don't even watch
it's
the highlights
not, it's
for that
not
game.
even that.
I know what's going to happen.
Well, each
Interception, fumble,
league has its
interception.
bum teams that don't really grab your attention.
When you only have 8 teams and 7 of them suck.
No,
6?
6. I'd say 6. But New York beat Dallas. Dallas can't get their shit together. Sound familiar, Cowboy fans?
Dallas.
And you lost to New York. How about them Cowboys? Yeah, how about them? New York 30-12. Where's Michael Strahan? He should be singing this. The DC Defenders, who I thought were actually pretty good at the beginning, started with a bang, and they're
then
kind of
the
going.
QB ran into some troubles. But
Yeah, 16. They lost 15-6, but they won the game still. They had 39 total passing yards.
Holy shit.
That's where you need to tune into the right game.
and this is why it's going to be really tough to sell this
Right.
league.
So that being said, when Kaepernick asks for $20 million or Johnny Manziel says, "Come get me," maybe they need to start looking that direction, because quarterback play is kind of what drives the whole damn thing.
Well, if McMahon's got money to burn, why the
Well,
hell
he's
doesn't
not going to
he
give
go out and do some
Kaepernick $20
headhunting?
million.
Do you not think
But you're
that
right, Matt. I
they've
mean, he's
talked
got to
to
start
these
looking
guys?
at these guys. And
I'm sure they have.
LA beat Tampa Bay 41-34. High scoring.
Well, Tampa Bay
There's
is at least trying to figure out
There's
how
some
to
entertainment.
how to
Well,
score.
the second they took the play calling away from Trestman, or he took it away from himself, however you want to say it, they scored points.
Wow.
Look at that.
The
Look
guru.
at that. Yeah.
The guru.
Maybe he can get Anthony Calvillo there. He can win it all,
Maybe.
providing Houston kicks and hits an upright in the final game. Also at the XFL, though, a stadium employee who works XFL games tested positive for coronavirus. He's a
COVID-19.
COVID-19, whatever. Coronavirus. Whatever.
I like Coronas.
Am I a doctor?
But I like Coronas.
You like Coronas? That's a
don't
good
want
marketing plan if they just frame it right, I think.
Sure.
Sure. No, this part-time employee at CenturyLink Field, of all places, was working in an XFL game between Seattle and Dallas last weekend, and there were 22,060 people in attendance. So now, what do you do with all those people, and who did he serve, or what did he do?
Well, what was he doing? What is his?
I don't know.
What was his job?
Like if
Was
he's
he,
a ticket taker
was
and
he
he's
licking
handing them back to you.
doorknobs? Was he the doorknob licker?
Doorknob licker.
Like was he the handshaker?
Even if he's pouring beers, is that not potentially a way to contaminate?
I don't know. I think, to be completely honest, I think we're getting a little overblown here with this whole
Oh, for sure. I went to
coronavirus
Costco
thing.
this weekend, regrettably.
No toilet paper.
Why you needed
Yeah.
toilet paper?
No, I went for like milk and a couple vegetables and some fruit and just regular shit, right?
And it was nuts.
And I go in the back by the milk cooler, and that's where they got all the shit foil and stuff. Gone, clean, like 4 PM.
Well, I know.
Pick clean.
Because
You're
you know
like,
what? If there's
oh
gonna
my
be
God.
some
Walmart
sort of
was
thing,
the same.
toilet paper is what I'm really worried about.
Why toilet paper?
Exactly.
Like, I mean,
It doesn't.
who doesn't
transfer,
use it?
Right, but it doesn't transfer the virus.
there's a couple of
It
newspapers.
honestly does not affect my ability to function in any way, shape, or form
here's
when
the
it comes
thing.
right down to it, right?
It gives
Right.
you all these flu-like symptoms. The shits isn't one of them.
Yes, exactly.
The shit's in these people's brains who keep buying shopping carts full of goddamn foil.
And did you know that you can clean germs off of your hands by washing them
What?
with soap and water?
Soap?
You
What's
don't
soap?
have to buy vats of fucking Purell. It's driving up the cost of fucking Purell.
Well, the stock market's crashing, but if you
Or
got
turn
stock in
hand
Everything's
vodka
crashing. Oh my
into-
god,
Yeah.
the crypto market is going.
Well, I blame this Seattle
Fake news.
issue on Seattle's dirty hippies. There, I said it.
I know a couple of those.
It's okay, we're
Seattle
getting an
dirty
image up.
hippies, and well, it's possible. Maybe a few joints got passed that thinking, oh, you just got the sniffles, not a
Right.
big deal.
Well, here's the thing: 70 people in the state of Washington have now been diagnosed, or it's been known that they have the coronavirus or COVID-19. Sorry, 11 of them who've died, which is sad. But 30,000 people died last year of the common cold in the United States. They're not even going to hit those numbers.
No.
So how's it an
People die
epidemic?
from the flu
How's
every
it an
winter.
epidemic when it's not even the same as the common cold?
Well, it's not. But ask your buddy Trump. He says this is all going to just
He said he
disappear.
didn't
It's
even
gonna
wa-
magically go
he
away
said-
like a miracle.
He said he didn't even want all the money that Congress approved for it.
They approved a lot of money.
Yeah. Yeah. For what?
I don't know. I was just in Vegas and I wasn't worried about it
It
at
is
all.
a serious thing because if it just keeps on dragging on forever, not saying like super crazy serious, but I mean, there are ways to not get it. There's a lot of people that have it that don't even know they've had it.
Steve
it does-
Wozniak. Did you hear that story?
No.
He was him and his wife were on a plane before it hit mainstream, and they figured they actually got it and passed it on to a few people unwillingly. Shit happens.
And is he okay?
Yes,
Did he
just
need,
like the flu.
Did he need ridiculous amounts
Sometimes
of
you go
of-
to a
of bum wipe?
festival or whatever, and you're shaking.
You get a lot of shit and you don't even know what it is.
right.
And you shake it off and you keep going.
If your kids are in daycare, guaranteed you're getting every fucking COVID 16 and below.
16 through 24.
Yeah.
They're coming home with you.
Well, all I can say is, people, stop listening to the media. Stop listening to the fucking government. Start listening to the experts. If you know a doctor, or the next time you go to the doctor, if you have an appointment in the next month, I'm not saying flood their offices because they're always busy as it is. Like, just ask them. Even if you know a nurse or have a nurse in your family, ask them. They'll tell you what to do.
Or
Don't listen
wash
to
your
the
fucking hands.
CBC and their bullshit story on the whole thing being this great giant pandemic.
You know what I'm worried
It's all
more
fake
worried
news.
It's all
It's phony
fake
stuff.
Yes.
It didn't happen.
About? Didn't happen.
Didn't happen.
I'm more worried about the people who actually go to the bathroom and don't wash their hands. And just
Dirty hippies.
the grossness of certain people
Gotta go back to the dirty hippie slide. There we go.
There you go.
than just the coronavirus from somebody coughing in something. But
Yeah.
I did feel pretty safe coming back on a direct flight from Vegas straight to Regina that there probably wasn't a lot of coronavirus on.
Well, I
That
can't
flight.
survive with that amount of alcohol
No.
in your body. You're
No.
supposed to just rub it on your body.
No, you drink it.
You drink it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the way.
There's no more.
That's,
That's the only cheap.
this
That's
is
the
the
only
cure. No, I'm kidding.
cheap drinks left in Vegas.
Is the hand sanitizer
Yeah.
on the
It's
walls?
it's the free hand sanitizer as you walk
I'm not
in and out of
rubbing
casinos.
rye whiskey though on my hands just for the alcohol to kill germs.
I
That's
did
a
notice
waste of
though
rye.
they were wiping down everything all the time.
When
There.
you see all the videos online
Little
of all
guys
these
in
guys
white
in China,
suits with
in
spray
China they're
shit.
spraying the big fog machines.
Yeah, they weren't going that.
Yeah,
but
they're
just like
fucking killing mosquitoes, man. What's that gonna do?
wiping hands,
Whatever.
or handles
Anyway,
and shit. Fuck, it was.
whatever. We're done with coronavirus.
Eh.
Next week, I'm going to bring Coronas and I'm going to drink Coronas
Hey.
just to be that guy.
Well, bring for the rest of us.
All right, I will. Actually, I got a lot of bow. I bought a lot of bow. I'm going to bring some bow.
That's
No.
unfortunate.
Bring Corona, please.
Fuck you guys. I mean, honestly,
I want
bow.
the virus.
You ever seen anyone advertise for bow, Maddie?
No,
Why?
because they don't have to.
One
I think you've already
sip.
told this this joke.
One
Well, I'm-
sip, you're sold for life. It's
I'm,
not
uh,
it's not a joke. It's
I'm
a
not quite
legit- it's a
Enough
legit.
already.
It's
Holy.
legit.
Why isn't Bo sponsoring
Jesus.
this fucking podcast?
I think you're in a cult, actually, Heath.
Maybe.
The Bo cult.
I'm gonna get bow tattooed on my ass. I only have to get 2 letters printed though. Anyway, NFL news. Well, let's talk about the quarterback carousel that's going on right now.
Yep.
The talk is, and it's been this way for a little while now, that Phillip Rivers is going to the Colts.
Yes.
Okay, and it makes sense on some levels because they
But
traditionally
need
have a
somebody.
good quarterback and they're a contender and they're up there and everything. But if you're the Colts front office, is it the thing you want to do?
Well, not necessarily. I think nothing.
Is-
I don't
is
think
it
it's
a
a
for
foregone.
sure, like
I
they
don't think
say?
it's a foregone conclusion. I
I
think
don't think so
everybody's
either.
waiting to see what Brady does first.
True,
Mm-hmm.
but he's not really rumored to be going to kind of the same stops as Rivers.
No, but depending where Brady goes, so
It's
if
the,
Brady doesn't
there's
go
definitely a
back,
trickle down.
if Brady doesn't go back to New England, I think a lot of things change. I think Rivers becomes in the conversation for
a
a
couple
team
teams, maybe. Yeah.
like New England. I think he's
Maybe.
in the conversation. If that's all that's
Well,
available,
Bill likes vets. I'll give it that much, right?
he's still a good quarterback.
But if you're the Colts and you want to win and you've got a good O-line, you got a good young team, you got a lot of cap space, do you go spend $30 million on Phillip Rivers, who could give you 1 year, 2 years? When's he falling off the cliff?
Well,
He's
no,
damn near 40. And some of these guys, they don't age gracefully either, right in front of your eyes. They
Right.
just, right? That's why the old guys need the blue pill.
I wouldn't know anything about that.
Well, neither would I.
Sure.
But I sure as hell wouldn't say it on here either. It's not fake news. I don't need that pill. Anyway, no. Wow, where am I going?
Nobody knows.
I really think if you're them, the Colts I'm talking, why would you not go out and potentially look at a guy like Mariota? to compete with Brissett. And then while they're competing, you're developing another guy.
Certainly cheaper.
Certainly cheaper. Hedge your bets, right? Don't put it all into a 38-year-old quarterback.
I wouldn't be signing Rivers right now.
I'm just saying, as the Colts, there's other options out there. Maybe you can get a guy like Jameis Winston. He could be available.
Or Jameis.
Jameis.
Twin brother.
I call this Jameis.
Sure.
Sure. That's how I say it.
That's my favorite.
Jameis. No, but more
no,
the
I know
point
what
though
you're
too.
saying. Like
and
why
even,
go with
even
the
something like
38-year-old guy when
the
you
Dwayne
can,
Haskins?
he might be available.
He might be available. He's a good young quarterback.
That's
You put him behind Brissett. You pay a lot less. Away you go.
Washington. They're so dumb.
Well,
Love the head shake.
fair enough. But the more my point is that maybe it shouldn't be quite that much of a for sure thing. The media is saying it sounds like a for sure thing.
Media don't know anything.
Well, maybe
It's fake
that's
news.
Rivers' preferred spot, and he'll do whatever he has to do to get there. Doesn't mean the Colts are going to reciprocate in the same way. And they're not much of a front office, which I think they actually have a pretty good front office. They've rebuilt that O-line, everything else. I mean, they've got to do their due diligence.
Right.
So in the name of doing due diligence, you've got to compare Rivers to other options and your window to win a championship.
Right, especially if you're going to pay that kind of money.
Exactly. So,
But at the end of the day, I still think all this depends on where Brady goes.
he's the first big domino to fall for sure.
And I think
For sure. But another team was the Colts that were like, Brady, that kind of thing. It's just maybe the Colts saying we'd like a veteran guy. But
Brady-
does he have to be 40 years old? Mariota's a veteran guy.
but he's only, 26?
Maybe. Fair enough. Still got 50 starts under his belt.
And
Maybe
was
with that,
playing pretty good until as of late.
so there are other options. So we're going to go and talk about Mr. Winston. I won't say his first name in fear of being mocked.
What fun is that for us?
It's also sort of the same thing there, though, too.
Come on, say
Can they
it.
get somebody better? Talking about letting them go. If so, who?
Where do they pick? What's their pick?
Tampa Bay?
Yeah.
I
They're in top 10, aren't they?
want
Thinking between 1 and 30.
to say 32.
No, we know they're
Ish.
not in the last two.
They're not in the last two. I don't know off the top of my head. I want
gotta
to
be
say
top 10 though,
12.
right?
I want to say 12.
Top
but
15? Okay, well,
just
so
look.
they could get a quarterback.
They possibly could to groom to put behind, Winston, but excuse me. That's sort of the thing. Everyone's kind of going about, much like Rivers. He's a for sure Colt. Well, the talk is Winston is a for sure. We're going to get him out of town. They really don't want to keep him. They're only going to seemingly keep him because they don't have another option.
That's
But
often
you kind
what
of always
happens,
do
though.
have another option. It's maybe not the one you want.
Well, yeah. Sometimes you're stuck between a rock and a hard place, and sometimes you have to go with somebody who can get you some productivity over the unproven rookie who's going to get you nothing.
Right. So what are their options? Are they better options? That sort of idea. So Jameis, I think
Who?
Jameson. Whiskey.
Jamison Crowder. No, different guy.
Let's see. It should say right here, right away.
14.
14. So getting somebody in the draft, and there's 3 quarterbacks we talked about last week, and potentially even one of those top 3 guys could fall, or they make a move up to get a guy.
Right.
But they're within striking distance of getting into that, 6, 7, 8 slot at not too bad of a price. So, that being said, they're also a potential spot for a Cam Newton. Weapons, he can throw a deep ball. There are other options.
Arians says he can win with anybody.
Who? Bruce?
Arians. Yeah.
Big Bad Bruce? I believe him. I
Said
believe
he
him.
can win with Jameis, and he can win with Jameis. Either one.
Depends which eye he closes. Okay. I'll learn his name.
His brown eye.
I'll learn his name. Legit.
It's not really that hard to learn.
Easy, fella. Maybe I don't want to say it right. Ever think of that?
I think of that a lot.
Okay. I'm shitty with names. I really am. I can remember a name. I can't pronounce names.
Oh, Heath, we love you.
So I'll never be an anchor at CBC News.
Because they pronounce names very, very accurately.
Yeah. Even though the news is fake. Dak is also...
Wrong.
What?
Wrong.
Oh. It is.
The United States.
It's fake.
Did you hear that?
It's fake.
America.
Wrong.
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 Dak was offered the highest guaranteed money in NFL history this week. $33 million a year still, but it has 105 in guarantees excluding bonuses. Cowboys.
Sounds like that's one of the bonuses of working for Jerry. Eh?
Well, here's the deal.
Because Jerry's got
Russ-
to be the
Russell
fucking
Wilson's-
biggest and best on everything, right?
Well, Russell Wilson's getting 70 in guaranteed, but he has incentives that take it up to 107, which I'm sure are very achievable. So Dak, I mean, just by that math, I mean, another 25 million onto Dak's 105 is very achievable, I would think, in terms of on top of his guaranteed money, his bonuses. Anyone who says Jerry isn't doing enough to get this guy in a Cowboy uniform,
Oh, he's
long
doing
term,
more than he should.
fair enough.
But just
but what
like
do you think?
I'm not
Jimmy,
sure Jerry has the
You don't-
football sense that he needs to build the proper team.
Jerry
really.
doesn't do everything in the front office. His son Steven does, or Stefan, depends. Are you an SNL guy?
I think he'd be smarter if he stayed the hell out of the kitchen a little bit more.
Well, maybe. If Dak doesn't sign this though,
Dak has to sign this.
but he balked at he said no to the last contract, which was 33 million.
Yeah, it didn't have as much guaranteed.
Okay,
though.
so they upped the
Yeah.
guarantees, but I mean, it
If he
seems
turned
like
down
he
the
wants to
biggest
be.
guaranteed
Okay, well,
contract
so here's the thing.
ever.
He wants to be the highest paid
yeah,
guy.
okay, then
Well,
he,
so what more
then
can
he
you
doesn't.
ask for?
Then he doesn't want to win championships. What the fuck do you want to win? Does Jerry want to win championships? If he wants to win championships, he can't. He's not going to win it.
Well, I
with
think
a
Jerry's
$33
committing
million
to this guy enough to say, "I want you here to win a championship."
When's the last time a quarterback that's got paid has won a Super Bowl?
Oh yeah, I'm pretty sure. Didn't we go over that stat? That it was
Well,
like
yes.
anybody over 10 or 15 million, they
Exactly.
won a
Brady.
Super Bowl, right?
2 years ago.
Right, but he's making 20. Was 22, which in
Was
the current
significantly less
market
than-
is significantly less.
Yeah. So I guess define getting paid.
Right.
Like top 10 at the position is
Right.
what you're essentially
Right.
saying.
Well, getting paid.
Right.
Show me the money.
Right.
Right.
Would it be Aaron Rodgers? Did he sign a big contract?
Yes.
Was
How many
he top
Super
10?
Bowls has he
Yes.
won?
And he
And he-
won?
no.
Since.
He got paid after.
He got paid after.
Russell Wilson got paid after. Joe Flacco won.
Paid after.
You know, and you can transpose that to multiple sports too, because like I remember
We
You're
talked
right.
about it with the Leafs
As a,
and the $11 million
Well,
players.
the NHL in
As-
general. Nobody's
Yeah,
ever had a guy
exactly.
over 10 million
Yeah.
on the
Well,
Meaning the
roster
Leafs
and
are never
won.
going to win.
but I mean,
Wow.
as a Flames fan, I think of
I love that he blew it on himself.
pulling
Roman
your horn.
Turek,
back there blowing
right?
himself.
I remember
Turek.
Roman Turek signed a big money deal with the Flames after they brought him over, and when he was really kicking ass at the beginning of the season, and I'm pretty sure he let in like 5 or 6 goals like the next night. And I mean, that was
Well,
the
he
end of it.
celebrated a little too hard.
Oh,
That's
no,
all.
no, but that was the end of it, right? It was like once he
Beginning
made
of
his
the
fucking
end?
money, that was it.
Well,
It
look
wasn't
up-
just that there's not enough cap room, but it's like once he made his money, that extra little whatever that made him actually win was all of a sudden gone.
Look up Alex McGillney. You want
Maligny, as Ricky used to say.
Maligny. You take his stats and put it right beside when he signed contracts.
Oh yeah,
It's crazy. That dude should have never been
That
signed
is
to anything
not
other than
uncommon,
a
man.
1 year deal. 1 year deal. So
that is not uncommon at all.
the other part of it is, does this give Jerry the right if Dak says, "Nah, I don't think that's quite enough"? If you're Jerry Jones, do you say, "Yeah, I think that's enough. I'm going to start kicking I'm going to
just
look at other
franchise him.
options."
No, fuck.
But I mean, even the franchise tag, 1 year, you're just looping it back to the same damn negotiation
Yeah.
and problem. at certain point, you just got to say this kid's agent or him, one of the two or both, are just off their fucking rocker.
Wow.
Jerry wants to win. He's got the team, I guess, in large part to win. They're in that upper echelon for talent.
Mm-hmm.
It was mismanaged by Jason Garrett. That's why he's fired.
Well,
Do you start looking at a Phillip Rivers? Do you start
expect some
looking
more
at a
mismanagement.
Tom Brady? Do you think Tom Brady shows up for $33 million?
yes.
$35 million?
Yes.
You're in the conversation.
Well, I mean, I don't think Tom really
so is
cares
Jerry
that much,
not-
does he?
Tom's not about the money.
Yeah, and he wants to win. He's a
not-
competitor.
He's going somewhere where he thinks he can
His
be in
wife
the
makes
Super Bowl.
ridiculous money
So I think
compared to
Jerry's
him.
justified if he wants to go and start pursuing some other guys on March 18th, which is a week or
sure.
so
Well,
away.
Well, that's why this is probably the last offer.
This
Oh,
is
Heath-
yeah.
As much as I hate to admit it, Jerry Jones has thrown enough money at this thing to deserve some success.
Well,
I mean, you can't fault him for not trying, right?
exactly.
Jerry's always been the one who
Exactly.
gets in his own way of winning more championships, though.
Well,
Well,
fair-
he tends to
Started
stick his
with
nose
firing
in,
Jimmy
right?
Johnson.
Oh, fuck.
and I think in some ways,
He
I
did,
mean,
man.
he's learned some lessons maybe over time though too. But the thing is if you got the cap room, you got the team, you got the talent on the roster, you just went and got yourself a head coach who could maybe use it better than the last guy. He's making the changes he needs to try to take a run at it. And this is part of it. He needs a quarterback. He'd rather keep his own guy than go to get someone else. But if this guy doesn't want to stay in the building, you have to open a door to maybe go see if somebody else will walk in.
Absolutely.
So I think Jerry,
Jerry
if this
might not
doesn't
have
get
many
signed,
years left.
that's true too, right? I mean, but on top of it, Jerry, I think, has done all that he needs to be able to do to justify to fans, to himself, to the organization, to the other players that are on that team, that I did everything I possibly could to get Dak back here, and he's not back because it's him.
Yeah, no, I for once I'm not blaming Jerry. I think he's going above and beyond to get Dak.
And
I don't
Dak
think
at 33 is pretty pricey.
I don't think Dak is a $33 million
Well, he was the
quarterback.
second leading passing yards in the league last year.
But I also think a
stats can
lot
be
of these quarterbacks are
Oh,
not.
I mean, stats are a little deceiving,
I
yeah.
think the quarterbacks are getting paid too much in comparison to. Yes, it's an important.
Everybody else?
Outside of Trent Dilfer, who won a Super Bowl as a mediocre or average quarterback.
Well, what's Joe Montana without Jerry Rice?
Probably still
at TO and
still-
did well. And
yeah, he's
part of it is you don't have
Montana.
But I mean, it's not like these guys have no value, right?
right.
I mean,
But here's an old cowboy saying for you: if you don't have a trigger, you don't have a gun.
Right, but if you got no hands, it doesn't matter.
You don't have a trigger, you don't have a gun. You don't have a quarterback, you've got nothing.
No, for sure. For
So
sure.
that's
it's the
why
guy
they're
who touches
getting
the
the
ball
money.
on every.
Speaking of guys getting money, though, Patty Mahomes,
Yeah.
football Kermit, doesn't want a contract immediately. He's not being very demanding. He's got another year before he's in that re-up position, but he doesn't want to get a contract on the books that's going to keep the Chiefs from winning more.
Right. Because
Well,
he saw.
is there ever a contrast in terms of being a team guy
looks like
between
he.
our last guy and
Looks
this
like
guy?
he would rather do it the Patriot way
Well,
than.
he
than,
did have a
than pay me.
pro NBA player in terms of a father who probably made a decent amount of money,
Probably
a
told
little
him
more
about,
than the above average Joe.
Probably told him how much money you can make post when you win championships.
Well, to him, he said, and this is his quote, not directly, but basically, it's about winning championships. That's
always
all.
about
That's all
winning
you're measured
championships.
by. That's all he wants to do, and he doesn't want to cripple the Chiefs' ability to go and do that. Well, there's
Sounds like
a guy,
a smart kid.
right? And if you're a potential free agent and you're going to take a little less because you also want to win, there's now an option where that is part of the organization. It's part of the leadership group. That's where you maybe start looking. So you remember how the Patriots and even the old Lakers and the old Spurs, they'd sign these guys off the trash heap for, that were 10 or 12 year vets,
Yeah.
and they'd be bench guys and they'd win a title. They're going to go here now. They
Yep.
go to New England for cheap because they want to win a title.
Yeah. But now
stuff like that.
that's
They're
not
going
gonna
to
be...
start showing up in Kansas City.
Well, of course. Wouldn't you want to go play with Pat Mahomes?
Yeah. So this not only helps them in terms of his contract, but it helps them recruit players who will now play for a discount rather than market or above market price. He just helped their salary cap in immeasurable ways. So to me, Patty Mahomes, as good as he is, his leadership now is on par with his on-field product, as far as I'm concerned. That was a hell of a thing to see. I love seeing guys get paid, and he will get paid.
Of course he will.
But
what basically, but he's saying, I don't need to break the bank.
I'm the dude.
It's more important that we get some fucking players around here.
Right.
Maybe there is, in fact, in this world, a concept called enough.
I don't know. How can you not like Patrick Mahomes?
Well, I'm a Bronco fan. It's tough. But to me, he's saying all the right things. He's doing all the right things. And he's in my team's division.
Jesus, I'm a Niners fan. He just crushed us in the Super Bowl. And I still love him.
But
he's an incredible
Isn't there
kid.
a lot of stuff in San Fran that plays both sides of the plate?
He's the next gen. Like we've been through our Brady, Manning, Rodgers is on his last legs. Like these are the new guys.
New wave.
Him and Jackson.
And talent-wise,
it's fun,
he's leading the
man.
charge. But now with this, I think he's leading the charge in every capacity.
For sure.
So,
Well, that's what these kids do these days. The smart ones. They see what worked. What was working? Why does Tom Brady have 6 championships? Oh,
Nobody else does.
Okay, I see. Because he didn't take all the money. Simple.
I only needed enough for groceries. Giselle's in that house.
Oh yeah, exactly.
Grocery money.
You can still buy.
Yeah,
it.
no, he makes a ton. It's like Eddie Murphy's joke about Johnny Carson's wife, right? I got a job at the garden shop or whatever, the flower store. Here, I made $20 working this weekend. I'll put it in the corner. Now we have $400 million and $20.
Fair enough. So
Hey, she's doing her part.
Speaking of guys doing maybe not quite the right thing, not being the leader you would like, Baker Mayfield is in the news again.
Oh, your boy.
Yeah, Shaker Baker. He's still working on becoming a franchise quarterback. I think he's still working on being an actual quarterback.
How about being a better
Just a
human?
human being.
Better human being.
That's
there
a good.
you go.
That would be
Yeah.
probably help his football game.
Yeah. He is being immortalized at Oklahoma. They are putting up a bronze statue. Lincoln Riley announced it on Monday that the school is going to unveil a statue of Mayfield during a spring game mid-April, April 18th in Norman, Oklahoma.
That's where everybody wants to
Mayfield's
peak.
statue will be
High school.
of basically his latest high school or Heisman winner who came from Oklahoma, right? So, okay, fair enough. But how soon do you put up a statue of a guy?
Seems a little bit premature.
Kind of.
Just like sounds like Baker was
Well.
behind the cheese factory.
Well, and that
Oh,
sort of
good timing, Matt.
begs the question, was he going to get a statue of him wearing pants or not wearing pants?
I think it's
Is
going to
he
be
eating
in the
slice-
back of
eating
his
a slice
Escalade.
of cheesecake in the back of the Escalade? Anyway, no, Baker in the news again. I
Jesus.
can't believe he's getting a statue. Maybe if he gets himself turned around and accomplishes something. That's sort of my issue with him in general. You got to the pro level, you talked shit, you have accomplished nothing.
He did exactly what Manziel did.
Well, outside of Manziel never had one good run.
True.
But overall, you've basically done nothing. How many playoff games?
Talks a lot, though.
How many playoff games has he played? That's how many words you're allowed to say. When you've got 10 wins in the playoffs, you can say 10 lines into a microphone.
Only 10.
That would be
Stop.
my advice. How many wins does Aaron Rodgers have? enough he can talk freely at the mic.
He only needs 5 letters.
Yeah. He just does this. Discount double check.
Just relax.
All right. Well, let's call it a show.
That was a pretty good show.
We're wearing pants, and I'm hungry for cheesecake now. So,
I am too now.
all right. Anyway,
All right.
we're
At
out of
least
here,
it's only cheesecake you're hungry for there, Heath.
says the Niner fan.
You never know what Heath's going to be
Whoa.
hungry for. But that was episode 13 of the Above Average Shows podcast.
Yeah.
As always, I'm Kyle.
I'm Heath.
And back there in the control room is Matt.
Word up.
And we'll catch you next week. Laters.
Laters.